Hi, everyone. Welcome to a MicroTalk on the Q&A feature in Power BI. My name is Richard Plunkett. I'm a data engineer at Spyglass MTG, and I'm recording this in August 2023, so all information is subject to change. The agenda for this MicroTalk is to briefly cover the Q&A feature and demo some of the functionality in both Power BI Service and Desktop using the Microsoft AdventureWorks sample data. As a starting point, conversational AI, where you can interact with the program using natural language, ask questions, and get answers back, is currently a popular topic. The Power BI Q&A feature, while not as robust as conversational AI, is similar in that it allows users to ask questions about their data in natural language and receive answers in the form of Power BI visualizations. The user interface for the Q&A visual is pretty intuitive. When a user first loads it up, they'll see suggestions to start interacting with their data, or they can input their own question in the text box. The Q&A will try to interpret their question and return a Power BI visual. In Power BI Desktop, the developer can configure which data sets will be available for end users to query at the table and column level and add field synonyms to allow end users to use business terms familiar to them. There's a section to teach Q&A by testing how it will respond to certain questions and preemptively resolving terms that it might not understand. For more control over the Q&A terminology, developers can also import a custom linguistic schema file that explains certain phrases. I'll now demo the Q&A feature using AdventureWorks orders and products data, both in the Power BI Service and Desktop. All right, so I'm in Power BI in browser. I have a Power BI report with a single page that only has the Q&A visual, though the Q&A can be added as one of many visuals on a page. The Q&A has suggested some questions. If I click Show Products, where products is the name of a query, the Q&A returns a table visual with all of the columns from the product query. I can further control the data being returned. If I show products sorted by standard cost, now this has changed the sort order of the table visual. The blue underline confirms that the term was successfully matched to a term in the data. I can add show products sorted by standard cost with list price over 25. And I can see this is not quite returning what I'm looking for. So something to be aware of is that it can take a bit of question tuning to get the right data back. This is returning standard cost over 25 rather than list price. The Q&A automatically attempts to return a relevant visual based on the question. If I search product by number of orders, it returns a bar chart. I can prompt the Q&A to return a specific visual by saying as visual name, for example, as pre-map. If the Q&A is unsure about a term, such as what are the top 10 list items or top 10 items by list price. So it's unsure about the term items. So it's making a guess that I mean products, which is what the orange dotted line means. If I do what are the top 10 UPCs or universal product codes, so it definitely does not understand that term. There is a red underline. For terms like this, it would be good to add, open up Power BI Desktop and add synonyms so that the Q&A knows the terms that users are referring to. I've switched over to Power BI Desktop. I'm going under the Modeling tab and clicking on the Q&A setup. In the window that popped up, I'll go to Field Synonyms. I'll go to the product query, scroll down to the product name, and I'll add the two terms that we just tried as synonyms. So I'll add item and UPC. Another cool feature in the Q&A setup is the review questions. So I've signed into the Power BI service, and I can review questions that have been asked in the service. So we can see the questions that I just tried asking. This is cool if there's a fix needed, if the Q&A doesn't recognize certain terms that users are asking about. You could go in here and see the questions that have been asked and teach Q&A to understand those questions. So I'll close out of this Q&A setup. The Q&A will take a minute to refresh, and now we can try the questions again. what are the top 10 items by list price? Okay, and now we see that items has a blue underline. So Q&A is recognizing the synonym. Let's try UPCs. That's also working. So this was a very quick overview of some of the functionality of the Q&A feature. Hopefully you find it useful and can find ways to leverage the feature to derive actionable insights from your data. Thank you.